My name's Ryan Bundy. I'm the son of Clive and Bundy. I assume you know who we are. And I'm very fond of your father, Rand. So that's to hear. I see here when you talk about civil liberties, I pulled up some information on you, and it says that the usurpation of power by our current federal government would make our founding fathers roll over in their graves, and I believe you're right. The issues that standoff and so forth that took place here a year ago brought to light some important things. One major thing is that there is simply no place in the United States Constitution that allows the federal government to own land, period. What are you going to do as president to correct that problem?
I'd either sell or turn over all the land management to the states. I don't think the federal government needs to be involved. The biggest revenue raisers for the Treasury back in like the 1830s, 1840s was selling Western land. That's how a lot of our ancestors got here, is through land sales. And it was pretty cheap to buy land from the federal government. But you run into problems now with the federal government being, this bully and this big, huge government bully. You would have less of that if you had more local control of the land. State ownership would be better, but even better would be private ownership. And so I think we should do everything possible. Like all the stuff that you had to deal with the grouse or the prairie chicken or the bigger chicken, the lesser chicken, and all that stuff. You wouldn't have that problem if you were dealing with it locally, because what you would decide is, well, yeah, we want to preserve nature, but we also want to preserve jobs and the economy, and there would be a balance. And sometimes I'll say flippantly, if you sold the chicken to somebody, there'd be plenty of them. And there's certain truth to that. When things are owned, there's lots of cows. No, the cows are not endangered. Neither are chickens, really. Sagebrush, grouse would be probably less likely to be endangered if somebody owned it and allowed it to reproduce. So there are ways of handling it, but we've actually taken the Endangered Species Act, and we say that should be done locally also. And then it would be your community. You decide what to do. And there still would be arguments back and forth over exactly what we do on how we protect species. But we just went crazy on all this stuff. In Kentucky, we have the pocketbook mussel. And so it was a little tiny town. And when it rained, their sewage plant was small enough that the raw sewage would go into the lake. Well, nobody wanted that. I don't care whether you're Republican or Democrat. Nobody wants sewage in the lake. So they said, we're going to build a bigger sewage plant. The federal government came and said, oh, no, you don't. We need to find out whether the bigger sewage plant, how it will affect the pocketbook mussel that grows in the lake. And it's like, we're trying to prevent stuff from going in the lake. But they ended up spending $100,000, this tiny little town that had no money, on a consultant to count the sagebrush, the pocketbook mussel. Then they found an arrowhead, and then they had to do an archaeological dig. So the government's gone way too far. I'll tell you one other story about what the government's done and how the government can really be a bully. Robert Lucas was a landowner in the southern part of Mississippi. He was developing lots, and he decided to put dirt on his lots to improve the elevation of the lots. The government came and said, oh no, it's a wetland. And he said, well, there's no water. There's 300 different ways that the government can tell you have a wetland. 300 different plants that they can look for. They can take a soil sample and measure the percentage of water in the soil. They don't have to see water for it to be a wetland. They also can turn leaves over. If the leaves are black on the bottom, you might have a wetland. So here's the problem. The government took something reasonable, and I'm not against all government regulations. There was a Clean Water Act in the 70s that says you can't discharge pollutants into a navigable stream. Well, I don't want people dumping benzene into Lake Tahoe or the Mississippi River. Most of us don't want that. But the thing is, over time, they define dirt as a pollutant, and your backyard as a navigable stream. So the government just grew so large and became such a bully on this. But anyway, Robert Lucas did this. They put him in jail for 10 years for putting dirt on his own land. They convicted him on the RICO Act, which is supposed to be used for like gangsters and drug dealers. His daughter was 43, had never ever committed any crime, a speeding ticket, had a 2-year-old daughter at home. She got 84 months in jail. They let her out after 26 months, over 2 years in prison for just trying to sell lots and be an entrepreneur in our country. So we have gone way too far, and it is time that we stand up in a legal fashion, but we stand up and let's say enough's enough. Let's elect people who will get the government off our back.